Good afternoon, Speed Gaming, and welcome to Link to the Past Randomizer Open League Conference Finals. We've got Game 4 today between Amish Paradise and Farm Friends. Farm Friends currently with the 2-1 series lead. That's right. After 3 games, Farm Friends up 2-1. Today we've got that Game 4 rematch of Game 1. We got Tabby Cat for Farm Friends and Zero Nix for Amish Paradise. Tabby was the low seed for this, so she has gone with Swordless, which has been her choice, I believe, most of the rounds so far when she has found herself in Game 4. But I do know Nick has played a bunch of Swordless. I'm Radical Sniper 99, joined today by Jawsome Sauce with Werfjig on the tracking. Hello, Jaws.
Hey, what's going on? Hello, everybody. Welcome to an exciting Game 4 to see if there'll be a Game 5 or if Farm Friends will find themselves in the Open League Finals. Very exciting.
Yeah, we got a little bit of the... my arm was a little bit twisted to join this commentary today. This is kind of a old Amish Paradise reunion today. That is right. Jaws and I were ex-members of Amish Paradise before Nick found his current teammates of Dapper and Danny Music, so fun times.
We get to start with a flute and sanctuary on Tabby Cat's side. As we
also saw that green 20 in Link's house for Nick, so he found a sword, just not as good.
Yeah, for those of you who haven't followed us in a while, Swordless, there's no swords. That's exactly what it sounds like. A hammer is going to be your best friend. The only other weird thing going on is there's only one bow in the pool, and it's going to be silver, so they're going to want to find that bow for sure.
Yeah, I don't know about anybody else, but hammer silverless for Ganon. It's not really good.
And Canis and Mario and Uncle will be good. It's giving a weapon something to do early on. Again, you're not going to find a sword. Who knows how long until we find that hammer. So that cane's going to be a lot helpful.
Yeah, I thought maybe we would have seen Nick try to do Front of Escape, but only 2 magics is a little iffy. Like, it's doable, but not a terrible thought to not go for it at this point.
So one of the things we want to see here on Tabby's side is she's often skipping Kakariko. A lot of times we'll start at Sanctuary. We'll see if that's going to play here or if that was just a casual boot strat. And I know a lot of people like to skip Kakariko casual boots, but even in some of the Swordless seeds and some of the past seeds, we've seen her do that. So
yeah, she's definitely had some untraditional routing, and it looks like she's going to do something different again. I gotta believe she's coming into CAC, though, from the south instead. Because, honestly, you got a flute, like, skipping the activation just seems off. And yeah, it looks like she's going to do the south strat to get some bombs. Definitely see this strat from some runners to say, okay, I didn't get any bombs, so let me make sure I get them, and this is the way to do it. And there's one bomb. Meanwhile, Nick is going to go into Kakariko still. Tabby getting her second bomb off of the 50-50s.
And this is the open map format, so no keys. The keys are going to be in the dungeons. Everything's in the dungeons, like a normal open seed. There are a few changes to the world to make up for the swordless mode. I mean, you can't use medallions because you don't have a sword, but a couple of the places, like an Ice Palace, will have medallions on the floor to use. Some of the curtains have been pulled already, and other things. If you've never seen a swordless seed before, you're going to see a couple different things. There's a big mirror in the tavern there for Zero Nix.
And he did get enough money to buy some bombs before coming in. So he's not going to get bottle vendor money, potentially, but still able to at least get the bombs. And coming back wouldn't be too bad. And yeah, we did have a 5-6 crystal at Eastern Palace with regular crystals at Desert and Hera.
Yeah, we saw a glove on the library there, so boots are going to be required sooner than later for sure in this seed, which is always fun to not have it end up in Ganon's Tower.
I mean, boots in swordless is not exactly my definition of a fun time.
Yeah, it does make it a little harder to run into stuff when you don't have a sword out and you don't get any hammer dashing or anything like that. But a lot of these straightaways makes it a little faster, makes it a little bit more maneuverable.
Yeah. So what led us to this point is Tabby and Zeronix played Kaz Boots earlier. Tabby winning that game in the Kaz Boots. This was followed up. The second game was Mr. Scruff Ninja Tuna versus Dapper Wormman. Dapper Wormman taking the win there in Invrosia. And then finally, Windfox getting the better of Danny Music in Pseudo Boots Cross Keys to give us the current setup at 2-1 Farm Friends. So, what awaits this? If we do see a win from Zeronix, that will, as we said, force Game 5 between these two teams, where Dapper and Danny will face Wind and Scruff in co-op retrants. Both teams having a little bit of experience with that already thus far in the playoffs, as both teams needed to go through Game 5 in their previous round. But if Farm Friends wins today, they have a matchup set for the finals, as Great Name Pending has already booked their spot in the Open Finals after sweeping the Saha's kids.
Yeah, and one benefit to being this deep in the playoffs here, this is the semifinals, both of these teams have in a way already won, right? Because both of these teams will be joining you, Jesse, and your team next year in the Invitational. So, this is still, it's very important to have their last Open League year be a winner. And they're playing for that big pride and big joy of winning the whole tournament. But they will be playing the Invitational next year based on how things were set up.
Yep. That is the prize in a sense, reaching top 4. Now they're playing for pride. This is their goal of, seeing if maybe they can take a championship here.
Yeah, and with the way the Invitational League has worked in the last couple of years and probably in the future, as long as you aren't last in the league, you'll get to stay in the Invitational League. So these teams are hoping that their last time in the Open League is a big win. Playing for something big still.
Yep. So Nick just finishing up his Kakariko. Tabby just about done, or finished her side of Kakariko here. The only real difference, of course, is just the fact that Nick has visited the front of Escape. And the fact that it was only Kane of Samaria isn't something that really stops Tabby from even getting into Dark World anytime soon. So, could be a question of when she gets to the front of Escape if we start finding Dark World kit. And I will definitely take a free bottle. There's one thing you're noticing. We'll probably grab safeties that we can. If this was a mode with a sword, you probably see our runners being a little bit more willing to skip stuff later on, especially. But swordless Ganon type stuff is not exactly anybody's favorite. So I imagine we'll see our runners pick up hearts and armor as permitting.
Yeah, and you mentioned that the fight with Ganon, if you were here early, the people who were here early saw both runners practicing their hammer fight with Ganon, so they know what's coming at the end of this game, and that can be a big game changer, depending on how well they do. It's hard.
Ether and Half Magic, that's a really good find this early with Samaria being one of our primary weapons. Our other boomerang, personally my favorite.
And remember, because it's swordless, the only thing that Medallion can do is open a dungeon.
Yep.
Pavos gets to be used inside Ice Palace, but the others, that's all they get to do.
Yeah. And you do need a hammer to use those medallions. Just like you need a medallion or a hammer to do tablets in this mode. Because it kind of acts as your master sword in that sense.
It's your pseudo sword. Kind of like the pseudo boots with the reference.
Oh, I'm being corrected by Dapper saying you don't need the hammer to use the medallion.
wonder if that was a previous thing, because that sounded familiar to me. That when you said that, so I believe Dapper.
Yeah, Dapper might have done a little bit more swordless than I did.
For tablets, he's saying.
So Tabby's going right up the mountain at this point. She's looking at this and going, yeah, you gave me a mirror. Clearly the mirror wants me on the mountain. I'm surprised. I probably would have ventured at least to a Saha check, because I don't feel like you've got a lot of great options up here on the mountain right now. And like, for all I know, she's about to fight Hammer.
Fire Rod. Another weapon.
That's good.
And the lingering question too is the Dark World access going to be that glove that's on the library? So we're going to see the boots up here on the mountain, or in Saha, or heck, even Eastern Palace without a bow. You never know what you're going to find here.
Yeah, we did see a check of Lumberjack Pledge for nothing, so... So Tabby's not taking that fire rod into escape yet, so she is still being a little cautious about that play. Gonna be curious to see where she goes then after Ice Rod Cave, as Nick is about to get his fire rod.
We also have Sick Kid chilling still, ready with
No,
those.
we did Sick Kid.
Oh, we did it? Sorry.
Yeah, we got a bottle in CAC.
That's right. This is where Nick would make fun of me for not auto-tracking.
How dare you, Jaws?
One day I'll get on the auto-tracking train, I promise. Looks like escape here for Tabby. It's a good time.
It looks like Nick is gonna check out Hera at least a little bit.
So we're waiting to see some new stuff here. I'll just point out, so Tabby Cat's been playing competitively since 2019, since League Season 2, and Nick's been since about League Season 3, which is when, Jesse, you and I and him were on Amish Paradise. But so these runners have been working really hard for the last couple of years trying to get to this moment. So I mean, it's really cool, a really big deal that both these teams have accomplished what they've already done this year. So good on them for sure.
Nick forgetting to get the key first before, unfortunately, mirroring that first time in the basement. And there's already our first item. So Nick is going to get the big key here. I just don't know, like, Jaws, do you climb here?
I'd be hesitant without the hook shot to be able to make it faster, because you can't go anywhere except get those two chests. But I mean,
I'm
there's
not
not
thinking about the two chests. I'm just thinking about the fact that, like, we can't even kill Moldorm here.
Exactly. Yeah, I just mean the amount of time to walk down to get to the two chests versus if you could hair pot, at least you could go there a little.
That's the thing. Like, you'd even have to kill some blue beetles with pots or like Samaria strats.
So he's stuck.
And
He got himself stuck in the pegs there.
Yep, and he's gonna bail. So what happened there was Nick got caught between two pegs. If you do that, that is what causes you to be unable to move in that position. So real unfortunate.
Excited to see what we can find in Zelda's cell here on Tabby Cat's side. Well, Nick's got to be careful. He's down to 1 heart. Just going through.
Luckily, he's got blue mail, so those enemy, the Octoroks will not deal enough damage to kill him on 1 hit. Nothing in the cell, but we are technically still in logic to go to Dark Cross.
Yeah, and actually it's going to carry us all the way to the back, because this should be the key. Oh, it doesn't have to be. You're right.
Yeah, the key could still be in the back. And Nick's just going to keep with this. Oh, I was going to say, is he heading to Eastern? No, he is bailing. Front of escape time for Nick. And this time it is the small key, though.
All right, so it's a big check to see back here. I'm trying to think of what else there would be an option other than like Eastern Palace after this.
Yeah, Eastern's looking pretty likely at this moment.
Or what Nick was trying to do with finding that second item in Hera. That could always still be a thing, but
yeah, that could be our hook shot. That could be our hammer inside of Hera. Abby down to her last bomb. I'm gonna have to be a little careful here, but does get it off, no problems. And hey, gets a replacement bomb from the rat. There's our second sword. That is it. It is Eastern, folks.
Wow.
It looks like Eastern is our play. I don't know. The other possibility is you could sequence break the old man right now. Like, that looks like a pretty good play.
Yeah, I mean, you could just be finding the lamp here in Eastern and no longer being out of logic.
That's the big question is, what's your comfort level in Swordless in the dark? Like, it's one thing to say, can you do Mire in the dark in Swordless? But, Old Man with a boomerang, like, that's not terrible, theoretically.
Very vanilla flavored closet that we already saw. Some helpful tools there. Some ammunition. Yeah, an old man. I mean, even with the Cane of Samaria, you do that. Just pick, just need something to kind of feel your way around. But these runners are, they can probably do this in their sleep with that tunnel.
Yeah, like, there's just so many options that they have that I'm surprised neither of them did it on that first trip. Plus, even the same equip for an old man is always just so nice to have in your back pocket.
Yeah, I think that escapes the mind when you have the flute. Sometimes you just forget that you don't really need that save and quit as much as you might think you do. I like having it just as a comfort spot. Just an easy.
It's the quickest way to get out into the world with full health.
Exactly.
Yes, question in chat. The hammer is our only weapon. That can kill Moldorm, so we will need that hammer sooner than later for killing him. Both of our runners pulling the unfortunate map out of the last chest of escape. And there's the hammer. And if I was Tabby, this is my bail point. Like, I don't expect to get anything else here. I leave. Like, you got what you wanted. That's your item. That's your prize here.
Yeah, Hera and Paradox now in play. It's a lot of checks up there. Crystal.
Like, for all we know that there is something decent still left in Eastern, but my first inkling is, like, I'd be out of here.
It's like Nick's coming after Tabby and Eastern Palace as well, so
yeah,
be interesting.
And I believe that was all 3 items already. Yeah, that is 3 items. Ooh, I just realized that cape's not great.
Yeah, it's getting us closer to the Aga as the...
Yeah, we are a lamp away from Aga now. Just realized.
Hopefully the runners will find a bug net soon, because bug net's also a great way to take down Aga fights with the balls.
And it looks like Nick's going to continue as well. We got Pendant TR, Pendant Swamp, and a green pendant in Mire. Oh, and our other 5/6 is Ice.
Ooh, those pendant medallion dungeons are always fun. Let's see if those matter today or not.
And I mean, we've already got our Arcana Samaria.
Yeah, we'll have to see if that ether unlocks one of those.
Now, of course, the other piece of this is we know we're getting boots. Boots are a guarantee because that glove we saw in library. What we also will have a possibility of now is maybe a hover seed. That, you know, that Pendant Swamp Palace could say we don't need it. Now, we'll see if Nick decides to go right back to Hera. I think in his position, after having done Hera Basement, or tried to do Hera Basement, as it were, I think you bail and just go straight over to East Death Mountain here. Like, I think you cannot fixate on the mistake of Hera and go right back. I think you go and do what you can over there. See if you can get a hook shot and be able to bail on doing, like, the rest of it. For Tabby, I agree. Like, get your big key here. Like, this is her first trip into Hera. For Nick, I'm not as big a fan. But Nick is in here Hera again.
There's some value in not wanting to walk back from the other side. You know, like that is time loss. Unless the boots are there, which still is a problem because you can't run into dead rocks, you know.
Yeah.
Still in trouble. But I could see wanting to do this now and just not worry about it.
I mean, watch something importance here, and I am clearly wrong, but just a feel.
Well, and of course we have the value of being able to watch both runners. You know, they don't get to see each other, so it's something. But you know, we can go, oh, they're both in the same place, so that's good for each of them. But you know, when you're running, you're thinking about what you're doing for yourself. You're not really metagaming too much usually. Especially not for a Hera choice. I mean, if an item is in Hera's basement, that's when you can maybe think about metagaming or think about gambling, but this is, you know, who knows when you're going to get a hook shot, so you got to get that big key sometime.
Yeah, and our second item was in the big chest with that heart container, but...
A really nice hammer fight for Moldarm for Tabby Cat. It can be tricky. That's definitely something to practice if you're newer at the game. Just That's where the tilt comes from a lot. Is if you get knocked off by Moldor, that can get you a little tilted and put you off a little bit. So good job for Tabby Cat to take that down in one shot.
Yeah, and only a slight difference here. I'd say really the big difference here is just the time that Nick spent having to redo Hera Basement. Like, realistically, that's all the time difference after the first 24 minutes is be getting a little bit of an advantage not having to redo Basement twice. So Tabby giving us the new info, Nick into his Moldorm fight. Oof. Artful dodging, nicely done. Down goes Moldorm for Nick. And that will tie us up at 1 crystal apiece.
Just the shield and Spiral Cave, but just want to point out, I think some of this is a really great seed to practice, to learn, to play, just to get you used to using other tools. You saw Tabby Cat using the Cane of Samaria to get through those Moldorms, mini Moldorms. Just, kind of realizing you've got other stuff in your bag to use instead of a sword.
And that's so true of, like, when you talk about the difference in levels of play or in stylistic stuff like this, watch higher level runners, and one of the things you really start to respect about their play is, just knowing what items you can use when. Like, oh, I'm gonna use I'm gonna be using my hookshot more liberally. I'm gonna do cape dashes. Speaking of dashing, we've got boots and we've got a bug net.
And Moon Pearl was in the bottom one, so we are basically in light world or dark world access. Once when the runners go to the library in Kakariko and bunk that bookshelf to get the glove, and that net's going to be super helpful for Aga 2, since Aga 1 is no longer required. Sense to do a Bach Rocks check while you're here on the way.
Jaws, are you saying you don't want to do Aga 1 now? And there's our silvers.
Very nice. All the good tools happening here all at once. We're now in casual boot swordless. So where do you go first, Jesse? Where do you go from here if you're on Tabby's side?
I'm still probably doing hype. Maybe see if I can get a Burna. I would just prefer that.
Would you do like a hype over to Dig Game, like K45 and all that, or would you just check hype and kind of decide from there?
Hype, and then I'll make a decision. We know that Pod is a crystal today, so I really could see myself doing hype to Pod, but it looks like Tabby might be doing... I don't hate this route. Tabby, I would believe, is going to do Skull, like maybe is thinking Skull Thieves all the way to Pod. I will say Nick did not get his bow, but this could be part of his route, is thinking maybe I hit North Dark World altogether.
I mean, I'm a huge fan, as you know, of Skullwoods whenever you can. So, hopefully Skullwoods has some goods here, and I can appreciate Tabby going here first. But 2 crystals there, 2 crystals on the east side. It's kind of almost doesn't matter to me which one you pick. See what you get. You're kind of ready for both.
What I'll say is there are 0 items left in Eastern Palace, so like that's not a determination.
Yeah, you're just going.
Yeah. Yeah. But it is roughly the same amount of items between Skull Thieves and Pod. Of course, Vu does give some more weight to this side, so. But I mean, the question is, of course, when does Nick get in to get his bow out of Bonk Rocks?
Tabby, you gotta be careful here with one heart left.
But it looks like she's gonna set for the Death Warp here. There's one of our items with that mushroom, and Tabby not taking the Death Warp. There's the death. Okay.
Yeah, in chat pointing out, in a sense, yeah, mitts. I think we're mitts from go mode in order to get everything. If you assume the hover can happen, so otherwise it's hook shot. But both these runners have practice hovering. They could do it. I mean, I don't. You know, depends on if they could do it today. But we have seen them hover before.
Yeah, I do recall one of the earlier races. You know, we've had races. I've definitely been paying attention to both of theirs. I do recall at least seeing Tabby go for it in a seed earlier this season. I think in these playoffs already. Unfortunately, I do remember that day wasn't her best day for hovering, but she also said she wasn't feeling great. So we'll see how she is today, though. Definitely one of those things that can be day to day on whether or not you feel up to it.
So there is a weird situation that could happen here because Nick did not do Bonk Rocks yet. Is that if Tabby finds the mitts and realizes that she's ready for go mode, she would stop checking stuff possibly, and Nick may still look for the bow somewhere else and be doing extra checks to lose time. So there's a weird, just that one little skip that didn't seem like a big deal. Ooh, as Nick takes a fall there on Mothula. Could be kind of similar to the pet incident the other day. In game one, part of the reason that Tabby had such a commanding lead was she checked ped right away. The runners had book from Bonk Rocks right outside of Escape. Nick did not check ped, and Tabby did. It was flute. It was required, and you know, Tabby was able to use that information to her advantage and really take a commanding lead. So this Bonk Rocks could be like today's ped, essentially.
Almost revenge of the Bonk Rocks for Nick.
But despite having used the fairy, Nick does grab that crystal from Skullwoods to tie up the 2-2 crystals in these smaller dungeons here for both runners. And while we see both runners here in Skullwoods, be sure to give them a follow. They've been working hard for a couple of years now, trying to make it to this point, and they've been very successful. And of course, special thanks to Tabby Cat for setting up all the async seeds that we've all been practicing for the last few months. So she did a great job setting up those asyncs for us to get more practice and record how we do against each other and just kind of foster that community. So, there you see the hover there from Tabby Cat. It's perfect.
Yep, so that tells us Tabby is feeling good on the hover today. So, you know, if it comes to being a hover seed, we will see her go for it.
No slippers are for Ice Palace. You know, they could cause a deviation to Swamp Palace, potentially if the mitts are super deep, but, you know, for now, I don't feel like that's going to affect any runners' decisions other than maybe doing, you know, Zora checks or something like that. That was a really nice hover.
Yeah. So Tabby is going to do this North Dark World check set, which if this is what Nick's plan is, it'll work out nicely because he'll get that bow.
He's actually going to save 2 seconds by getting picked up by that Wall Master.
clearly.
So with hovering, I mean, I know there's practice things out there, right? Like there's ways to practice hovering. Have you used any of those tools?
I've tried some of the practice hack for it. It's pretty good. You know, part of it is just getting that rhythm and understanding what it feels like. As we get another heart container on Tabby's side, you know, as we're this close to go mode, I must say one of the things you probably hope to find is some more safety. But yeah, no, there's some nice tools out there. I definitely think they are quite good. It's just, it really comes down to getting that rhythm down and understanding it. And, you know, this is going to sound really weird of a point, but the personal hygiene of hovering. You talk to a lot of runners, they go, my nails, I need them a certain length, you know, like that's something that matters to hovering. So looks like Tabby's definitely in a good position for herself today on this.
Okay, Nick's gonna get his bow, so that's good for the kind of the race here. Tabby's gonna head towards Thieves Town. Imagine he's right next to it. So I mean, the mitts. This could be kind of a jet seed where the mitts are just hanging out on the way. It's gonna depend on how off the trail these folks go.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, you just play to your crystals. You beat Thieves. You know, I think you go down from there and hit up the Dark Worlds, and then just route that all the way to Pod. Like, I don't think there's a reason you don't just take this crystal to crystal for now.
You know, we've got that old adage, ABCD, right? Always be crystalline dungeons, or always be clearing dungeons, however you want to say it. And, you know, this is a seed that's just kind of yelling at you to do that, depending on where those mitts are.
Question in chat about, you know, what's the BPM of a hover. The big thing about hovering is more of the release. If you listen to a person's hover rhythm, you can hear many different rhythms. It's the fact that you can only be released for a frame during the hover. So like that's the bigger deal beyond just like how fast you are. I don't know if I agree with the route here. I saw some pointing out of the flippers and the mushroom, maybe saying go do the mushroom turn in. I like that a lot here. You know, maybe go all the way to Catfish in the Zora area. In Nick's shoes, like he's got the money for Zora. Tabby's well over that money right now as well, so surprised neither of them are kind of going there.
Yeah, I still think I would be sticking with this crystal dungeons. I mean, there's several now to be looking for those mitts.
I just think part of it is like I don't know if I like the fact they both ran across North Dark World again.
Yeah.
But we shall see, you know, as we've been saying, we're mitts from go at this point. Both runners, you know, are known to hover when needed. We haven't seen how Nick might be feeling on his hovering today, but we've definitely seen it from Tabby.
And of course, it's easy, again, as we watch two runners simultaneously and having no pressure at all to just hang out and talk here. It's easy for us to go, oh, yeah, we should do that, or I would do this. But, you know, you think about things that have happened, Nick getting stuck on pegs and Tabby Cat doing her routing, and that, you know, that does have little pressures to put on in a race that you don't always think of the optimal route. You might just be thinking what you're going to do next and going with it, you know. So we'll have to see it. I think it's important both runners are doing the same thing, so they're at least matching each other, which makes it a great race for us to watch.
And yep, here's one of those things we were talking about. Nick breaking out the cape here. I don't know if I saw Tabby do the same in that hallway, but it's just one of those little things you pick up. Like, it seems so minor, but it helps really speed you up. Do we have vanilla mitts? No, we have a compass.
One thing great too about this race is both runners are matched in their inventory right now. There's nothing that, now that Nick got that bow again, we're seeing the skill come out between both runners here. We're going to see, this should be a really great second half of the race. I'd say second half because I feel like we're halfway already with what's been going on. So
yeah,
we'll see where those mitts are though. This could be a long race just looking for a mitt.
I mean, honestly, one of the things you don't really realize is how much mitts does lock the late game here. So even if it is like mitts for go, there isn't a lot left.
True, there's no Dark Death Mountain. You can't do Fire, Ice Palace.
Checks are out of this. Like, no Smith Chain. Ice Palace is going to be go modable. Tabby being a little careful here. Does get that blind kill for the map, and yeah, we saw it pointed out in chat that there were no items left. Both runners going to that big chest. Could just be the nerves, but yeah, both runners having all 4 items out of Thieves Town, still checking that big chest. And here we go with blind on Nick's side.
I don't mind the runners doing the graveyard ledge check, knowing that kind of what you were saying earlier about taking
I
the
love
short.
Nick's route there. Like, Nick needed to check Bonk Rocks. He hadn't done it, so that's how he routed it in for himself. I think that's a smart play. I think afterwards, I just wish they took those flippers and maybe continued on a little bit, especially with the mushroom. But very textbook blind from Nick. Tabby had a good fight, but Nick just showing how it's done with the hammer.
Yeah, so I like checking out all the way over to Pod and Eastern from here, and then just kind of seeing where it goes. But almost trying to avoid going off the path here. I wouldn't want to go too far if you're just looking for 1 or 2 items. We know they can hover, so I would imagine they're not looking for a hook shot intentionally.
Yeah,
would be nice to have.
I would do the extra checks that are in my way. Makes my life a little better, but nothing too extreme. I will say, like, one of the things, so we're going to see Hype Cave here from Tabby. I would hope she checks Hobo after this on her way to Pod. I'd consider a Pyramid Ledge check for Pod as well.
All right, here's a crazy hypothetical while I wait to see if mitts are here. If you're Nick and this is kind of do or die game 4, right, to keep the team alive, you thinking about dipping into Swamp Palace just in case, just to see?
I don't waste the time for now. And I think part of that comes down to how do you feel going into the race? You kind of know your opponents. Like, the community is only so big, and certain people, like, especially from around the time that you get into the game, there's certain people you're just used to playing. So, like, you got to ask yourself, how close do you feel on a skill level? Tabby's gonna not check Hobo. I'm not a huge fan of this, to be honest. I'm kind of on the side of should have checked Hobo there, but that's the choice made.
It's like a balance of, if you're probably going to do most of Pod anyway, thinking you need to find the big key in the back, maybe that versus you might even save having to swim at all if you find it here.
But yeah, like I think one of those things you ask yourself is like, do you feel you're at a big disadvantage or advantage? Do you feel like you've made a big mistake or not? Like for Nick, I'm sure the Hera thing doesn't sit right with him. I'm sure he's unhappy about that. But like I think he's got to feel like other than that, like I've played decently throughout, so I just go with it and continue to do what I feel is good. And Nick's gonna flute immediately to pod. I think.
Yeah. Which again, from an objective standpoint, they're doing the same thing. That's probably good for if one finds the other one, they'll both find it. So it's good for race watching, but you know, not necessarily everybody's thought.
And that's the thing, like, you know, we talk about why these runners are in the positions they're in. You know, Nick and Tabby are not, like, this isn't a question of who's good, bad on this team. You know, these are complete teams, really. But when it comes right down to it, Nick and Tabby are in this mode or in this game because both teams have expressed throughout the season, you know, which arrangements they feel gives them the best shot in Game 5. And in interviews, both teams have kind of made no bones about the fact that Scruff, Wind, Danny, and Dapper are kind of the entrance players for their team. So like some of this routing stuff that like me saying maybe you go to Hobo on your way to pod, like that might be something I feel like the entrance player in me is saying rather than
that's a good point.
Like a traditional player. Like I don't know, Jaws, you're not an entrance guy yourself either, so
yeah, I've done two entrance seeds my entire rando life, so that's about all I want to do.
So like do you think about backdooring Hobo like that?
I mean, I like to do those like a fake flipper hobo early on after ice rods.
I
might have even been there. Yeah, I like that check.
I just don't know if it's something that you think about as much, I guess is the way to put it.
I wouldn't have thought about it in this seed because it's just yelling to go to Crystal Dungeons first with only 1 or 2 items to go. But you know, then the flipper checks would be the next thing I'd want to do after these Crystal Dungeons.
And of course, we still don't have a lamp. Not a big deal, but kind of a little bit of an annoyance. Okay, we are going to get the Harmless Hellway now on Tabby Cat's side. There's our big key. Our lamp would have been available somewhere.
Call that hobo.
Yeah, either the flipper checks or like something behind flippers looks to have our lamp.
Chat, if you're looking for, if you're hoping that mitts are on left side swamp, put a 1 in the chat. Let's do a little poll. Put a 1 in the chat if you're hoping that mitts are on the left side swamp.
Why would you do that, Joss?
Because that's the thing that happens. It's like, of course it always happens. All right, we got a couple of 1s. Good. Just making sure anybody else is with me on that. It's a lot of 1s.
Joss, you're supposed to be on the side of runners. You know, you're a runner yourself.
I'm more of a fan. I like a good, entertaining race. I'm here for the views.
I don't know. I feel the pain of my fellow runner, and I'm like, I don't want you to feel that.
I mean, it would be typical, though, of a seed that is so jet that just gives you everything and then 1 item, and you're like, okay. Where is the worst place it could be?
Worth pointing out that Tabby did leave one in Dark Maze.
I love the hammer jump. Little glitch skill here. What do we call it?
Yeah, we don't see it as frequently in non-key modes, but both runners breaking it out today.
Yeah, I mean, I guess you could find the hook shot, and then it's in the back of swamp for the mids. So you know.
Yeah, we'll see if this Nick having a little bit of trouble here in the Dark Maze as well. Both runners not really enjoying this one. I'm surprised, like, just watching, like, why are we not using that boomerang to give at least some kind of a hint as to where we are? There's some boot kick up.
Yeah, like he's just kind of going through all the items, and we got a flute toot in there, we got a bug net swing.
Yeah. Okay, it looks like Nick's got back on track. Slightly, maybe.
Oh,
he's bailing.
He's also going to leave it, so that's the unknown.
The unknown chest of Pod Dark Maze, folks. We'll see if it matters. We do only have one item left. It could be here on Helmasaur.
So if this is the compass, that's some fun.
Yeah, if this is compass and they both leave, and that's the mitts, I am so saddened for both of our runners.
Oh no. Oh no. That would be worse than left side swamp.
Yeah, we'll see if Tabby or Nick goes back in after this.
All right, put a 2 in the chat if you hope that the mitts are in the top of Dark Maze. Let's see those 2s. We've got some 1s already. You can change your 1 to a 2 if you want. It's okay.
Tabby's going back in.
That's fair. Yeah, that's a good. We got some 3s. I'm not sure what 3s are, but you know, good on you. We're not ready for the Ganon's Tower big key check, so you can keep that 3 for later. Yeah, I mean, it is easier to do this in the dark from the normal door, so this will probably help. It's the stuff you forget you rely on with a sword. You know, that's what Swordless is going to teach you. It really teaches your skill gap that you need to work on, just in case. Just a load of cash, 300 bucks. So if Nick decides to skip it, it will save him a little bit of time. It might cause him a little bit of agony to wonder what's in the chest, but to see if he does that or not. And Eastern Palace is just an Armos fight. We've seen everything here.
Yeah, our first 3 checks were the big key. Well, we had the big key in Post Alphos, and then the other 3 checks we did were all the items. So this is just an Armos kill here.
It's fun to joke about all the money, but in this seed, in Swordless, when you are trying to fight Ganon with a hammer, you know, deaths are possible. It's tough, you know. You might want to fill out potions, or some of the bosses are harder than normal without swords, even for good runners like these. So being able to quickly get some bottle fills whenever you need to is going to be helpful. All right, Nick's not going to go back in. He's going to unknowingly save a little bit of time.
Yeah, I mean, after already having that one quote-unquote mistake in the back of, or in Hera basement, like I can see him kind of going, I need to make a little bit of a skip here.
Agreed. So where do you go after this?
I think you got to make flipper checks. Maybe turn in the mushroom first, just because that's a quick flute away. But I think you find yourself doing... I mean, I think you just have to go straight in for flipper checks at this point. And I would go with the densest ones. Like, I would be immediately into Zora and the waterfall.
Yeah, I agree. I would like the water checks too as well.
I might even skip Hobo until after Zora. Like, I'm hitting the most I can. And it looks like Tabby's going to do this in an efficient manner. She's going to probably do, it looks like, I would say, Pyramid Ledge up to Catfish Zora. Hopefully she also remembers Hobo along the way.
Yeah, and based on how pod worked, one of these checks has to have the lamp, I'd imagine. There's not too much out there that would have that in order to have
And
the pod
she
logic.
skips over the Hobo there. Like I said, I think that is just maybe more of an entrance runner thing to think about doing Hobo from Dark World.
I mean, all we got to do is have something on Hobo, and you've been right this whole time, and you can just go, yep, told you.
I mean,
And we'll all adopt that trend.
that's the hard part. Like, you know, this is just how I look at this. I'm no different from anybody else. I'll win or lose any race. Like, that is rando.
And just in case chat's wondering, Pedestal is definitely dead, so don't even bother with that. I don't want to state that in the chat. We don't know what pet is.
That's what pet is.
Can't
We're
be
just
anything.
going myths.
And it can't be the hook shot either, because Swamp Palace requires it, so there's nothing on pad that could be helpful. You can put your guesses in the chat, we'll see it in the credits. Alright, here it is. Jesse, been waiting for this the whole game.
I've been waiting for this the whole game, folks. I want to know, what's the Hobo got?
Your whole rando career is on the line right now. No.
Oh, darn.
I was really hoping it was something good. It would have been good entertainment. We got Catfish coming out here though with the lamp. There it is. There's a lamp.
Okay, I will say from Nick's standpoint though, right after that Hobo check, should have fluted again.
Yeah.
Maybe this is an opportunity. Okay, he's using this to check actually the island. I like that. Like, that's a smart use of his time there, since he had not scouted it yet. You know, lamp would have been nice, but we're out of dark rooms.
Yeah, Torches 1 will be great. Like the one use for it.
Okay, so if it's not Zora, it's Swamp.
Nice fairy bottle. That's going to be helpful. Having a third bottle being fairy. Yeah, Old Man's also an option. We haven't seen that.
Old man. Good point.
Oh, here's some
It's not Zora.
rebate. It's tax season, everybody. There's your refund. Zora feels bad for everybody for not having the mitts, so he gets it back.
Spike Cave.
All right, Old Man, now in logic with the lamp. This could be like, I'm waiting for the hook shot to come up first, to be honest. see a hook shot before like flooded chest of swamp or something. Now this looks like catfish and pyramid for Nick.
Yep. And unfortunately, it just means for Nick, he's kind of playing from behind here. Like, no two ways about it. He is just... His checks, like, he has no check advantage over Tabby right now. If this is Swamp Palace, Tabby is going to last locate Swamp before Nick does.
And both runners do have the bug net, as chat is asking about it.
But here we go. Spike Cave on Tabby's side. Is this our mitts? It is. That is officially go mode for Tabby Cat.
Wow, very good. Sorry, everybody, not Swamp Palace today.
We'll see if she does any extra checks, but realistically, she did a hover earlier in the seed in Skull Woods, so we know she's feeling up to hovering today.
So, regardless, there's some folks in the chat pointing this out. So, the hardest part has yet to come in this seed. So, the battle of Aga 2 with the bug net and hammer, and then the hammer fight with Ganon. Of course, the climb with just a hammer 2. Those are pretty brutal, even for all skill sets. So that could still be a determinant of the race. Plus, we still have a few dungeons to clear here. So while Tabby Cat has a nice lead now, especially if Zero's not heading to the mountain, we're gonna have to hope Tabby Cat keeps a good, steady execution as she works towards the finish. There's still a race to be done. Nick's going to Swamp, it looks like.
Yep, playing the gamble here. I mean, the only thing he can really get is like a hook shot, and I don't know if that really helps him much.
Hook would help if Tabby just isn't able to hover, but Tabby did a great hover in Skullwood, so just being able to repeat that should be okay. But we don't know what's going to happen in about 20 minutes from now, or whenever we get to the Ganon Tower part. Got a couple more dungeons here still.
I will say the one thing I'm gonna caution on Tabby's side is how much she's using those silver arrows. And I'm gonna guess she's gearing up to probably just buy an upgrade after ice or before ice. But still a lot of arrows to use, especially coming into Landmo. Two Landmo down, and what's
just
your
enough
arrow?
and the fourth sword. The arrows use the same count, so wooden and silvers, it's still 0-0 there right now. So even being able to switch back and forth wouldn't change the count.
Yeah, the only thing you'd really use that for is if you were trying to save lag frames type stuff.
I know in retro modes you can switch back and forth. I don't know if you can do that.
You can in normal. Yeah, normal modes you're able to swap back and forth. And yep, Tabby is buying that arrow upgrade here.
Yeah, good call.
Yeah, you can toggle between the two arrow types. It's minor time save of lag frames, but you know, we look for all the little advantages we can.
You mentioned earlier with swordless, if you haven't seen a swordless seed, you saw that Bombos medallion sitting on the floor. That's what the developers for the Rando did for us to be able to let us use the Bombos tablets in certain areas, the Bombos medallion in certain areas. So in the freezer rooms in Ice Palace and in the boss for Cold Stare, you do get to use the medallion. That gives you a little help there. Still lets you have either Bombos or Fire Rod allow Ice Palace. One thing that does is it gives you two options to get in here, which allows the logic to be a little bit more fluid. You know, if you only had one option, you'd always be looking for Fire Rod, and that might, especially if you do an inverted seed, inverted swordless, it might kind of stick you in one line every time. We want more options. You see Icebreaker move here on Tabby's side. Or some dancing from left to right, either way.
And there's Nick finished up with Swamp Palace. But in that amount of time, Tabby has been able to pretty much get through her last two crystals. Abby dropping in on Cold Stare. Just not enough magic there. Unfortunately, having thrown that one shot away from Cold Stare did waste it, but nice kill nevertheless. Well done. That is crystal number 7 for Tabby Cat, and she is going to be heading up to Ganon's Tower.
And you know what that means.
It means that people are just going to start spamming numbers. I have no idea what they mean. Jaws, do you know what they mean?
I don't know, but I threw a number in just so I could be part of the group there.
Oh, you wanted to be cool too?
Yeah,
Peer
so
pressure.
Put your number in the chat to see what chest are we going to open to see the Ganon's Tower big key. So 1 through 22, is it? Is it still 22?
It's still 22.
All right, my real guess will be 8. What would your guess be?
I usually go with like 7. This isn't at all to be like Price is Writing you or anything.
No, that's okay. I'm highly offended. So Nick does have his mitts now. He's going to be heading towards his last 2 crystals as Tabby heads up towards Ganon Tower. Again, still got to have the hover happen if she doesn't find a hook shot. That's going to be awesome to see. And of course, we've got a Hammer Ganon fight and a Bug Net Aga 2 fight. So lots of cool stuff coming our way.
Yeah, and I mean, we still have to get through all of GT. You know, even knowing that the hovers are well within her ability, you still have to, if this is left side, you still got a lot to do on left side. A lot of bomb jumps and all that other stuff.
Yeah, and definitely give the runners a follow. They've all made it here. Everybody's a winner at this point because both teams are going to the Invitational League next season. So it is a win in a sense already, no matter what happens here. And of course, this game 4, if Tabby Cat wins this game, Farm Friends will win the match and move on to the finals to take on Great Name Pending. So a lot on the line, but everybody's won already just by making it this far in the tournament. And for everybody watching, if you haven't heard of for some reason, if you haven't heard about the ALTTPR League, happens every year, usually around September or so, it gets started. It's for everybody. There's an open league for anybody who wants to join in. So definitely make sure you find the Discord, join the Discord, and hang out with all of us. Follow all of these channels that we're on, and you can be part of it too.
Yeah, we are nearing the end of season 5 at this point. The finals are set for the Invitational League, and a good chance we'll see at this rate, looking like there's a good chance we'll see this set up for the finals of the Open League as well. So there's our book. But yeah, the Invitational League is set up to be Pugs versus OK Dudes. So definitely going to be an interesting closeout there as well.
All right, well, there's number 7. Come on, number 8. Let's see it.
I do see it mentioned in chat about the lag shield. It's kind of a misinformation against the mirror shield. It actually does not increase the amount of lag any more than any other item in the game. It's just by the time you usually find a mirror shield, you've also got everything else that causes the lag to go up. So stuff like having a lot of heart containers can make you just as laggy.
Yeah, number 8. Woo woo!
Mirror shield is not a laggy item.
Congratulations to Phantom SVT for also guessing 8. They guessed before I did, so they win. They win a lifetime supply of rando seeds. All you got to do is go to alttpr.com. For everyone, you can also have that lifetime supply. I think Phantom's going to share with you. So congratulations. And just like everything with swordless, you end up taking a lot of things for granted with a sword, and the Ganon's Tower climb is right on there. I mean, even though you use a lot of other tools in the climb, just the way you dash without a sword and some of the things you need to do just to do a quick kill, it's just not there in swordless. So if you haven't tried a swordless seed, it's worth trying it once just to see what you're missing.
Yeah, that's kind of why you're seeing Tabby's preferred method for dealing with enemies in this mode is her silver arrows. As she does that whole run with pots, so, what do I know?
Tabby's going to use one of those blue potions to refill here. We'll see if that matters later when we get to the Ganon fight.
Yeah, a lot of the enemies here in the Gauntlet were all part of the arrow pack, so all along the way, Tabby's just been able to be like, yeah, I'll take the arrows. Oh, last second kill in that last land mode
Wow.
too. Nice.
Nick's checking chest. I think maybe he's just, the way he's feeling, he might just be hoping to find that hook shot while he's at it.
Yeah, I mean, it was on the way. Like, he's not going out of his way for something like iced tea.
Yeah, see, Wizrobes too, that's a good example again. You just get so used to swinging your sword on one of those, that fourth Wizrobe, and it's just not an option. But almost getting it with the one cycle with the cane.
Nice hammer start there for Nick on Cold Stare. Unfortunately, he is out of magic already. But down goes Cold Stare for Nick for his 7th crystal. Unfortunately, it looks like he's going to be a mountain climb and GT climb behind at this rate.
Yeah, he typically is a Dark Magician router, though, so he will probably get that key as fast as Tabby did. Although, here we go with the hover.
Gets away from Moldorm and
First shot. Wow, what
first time every time. There we go.
Well done.
Yeah, I was thinking maybe we could have a race still here with the with some hover, but no, Tabby is pretty much shutting the door, saying, "Yeah, I've got this."
That was just perfect. Perfect hover. All right, now we got Bugnet Agate 2, which is always fun to watch. I mean, it's similar to swinging your sword and doing the sword circle, but it's not quite as accurate. There's just enough time delay for that slowed net.
Yeah, you do have to learn a bit on the timing of how to do this.
It also feels a little random how it comes off the net too. It's not random, but when you start learning it, doesn't seem like it's going the way it's supposed to go.
Well, one of the ways you can actually improve that a little bit is if, like, it works really nicely in the Aga 1 fight, but you can actually do Bugnet dashes. You kind of always get just a straightforward shot off of it. But down goes Aga 2 for Tabby Cat, and she is starting the climb, or starting her Ganon fight momentarily. Meanwhile, Nick has decided to divert a little bit for Super Bunny Cave.
Yeah, as Chad's pointing out, I mean, it was the last time you've seen a sub 90 swordless seed. These are usually some of the longer ones. One of the problems, one of the things you got to fight with Hammerless Ganon is you can't use your cape, or if you had a hook shot, you can't use some of your items to stay out of the way of damage. But with a billion hearts in Blue Mail and at least a potion, that's going to be feeling good.
Yeah, and Tabby's going to wait it out here in the center. She'll be able to get a nice couple of hits, or 3 hits there. Gonna play it safe. Nick, though, entering to GT now.
Should be about ready for 3 now here.
Tabby's still taking a bunch of damage, unfortunately, but gets through phase 2 into phase 3. You have to be a little bit careful on the 3 hearts.
I don't remember if she has another potion, or I don't think she's a fairy. I don't remember her using the bottle and the waterfall fairy like Nick did. And Nick not doing the usual DM strats, so it's going to take him a little bit further away from his big key.
Oh, he's going
Oh,
right
sorry,
to it
my
right now.
bad. It's not in DM. It's in it's in Compass Room. I was so just amazed by the hovering and the Agate 2. I forgot everything that happened 10 minutes before that.
Ooh, that was close.
Wow.
Tabby nearly getting thrown there with that fire baton down to 1 heart. Nick getting his GT big key. Gonna check the rest of the chest here in Compass Room. And here we go. Nick beginning his climb.
All right. All Tabby does is have to cross that bridge, and the Farm Friends will be going on to the finals of the Open League for Season 5. Get your GGs in the chat as soon as she crosses that bridge. And with go ahead. You do it.
Tabby finishing in first with a 119.27 GG2 Tabby Cat, and Farm Friends, our other team, making it into the finals. As we said, this sets up a finals matchup between the Farm Friends and Great Name Pending. Just to give you an idea of what that means, we've got Breathe as the casual boots matchup with Tabby Cat. Sinhi will be up against Windfox and Pseudo Boots Cross Keys, and Top Life and Scruff Ninja Tuna will be playing in the power mode.
And we'll try to have an interview with both runners here. I think Tabby will join us here any second here.
Yeah, it looks like Nick is going to finish out this seed.
Yeah, I mean, it's the last game for him and his team, so once we'll get that last finish, especially in a swordless one, kind of end on a good note of completion. Again, everybody's a winner here. You know, being able to be in the Invitational League next year is a big deal. And
we are now joined by Tabby Cat. GG.
GG. Tabby, can you hear us?
For now, GG's.
Congrats! You just took your team Farm Friends to the finals of the Open League. How do you feel about that?
I don't know. I don't know. I jumped up, and we're all on vacation together right now, and I like jumped up and my controller fell on the floor, and I opened up the door to our B&B because I'm in a completely different room on the other side of the B&B right now. And there my teammates are like, "Oh my god!" And so we were screaming and hugging, and you know.
That's awesome. Congrats again. So first, big question here. So more of a congratulations. That the hovering you did was phenomenal. Tell us your thoughts about approaching those hovers and how you're feeling when you're having to do that.
Well, whenever I found that it was a mitts from Go mode, I was like, okay, that's 28 minutes, and I'm like, okay, I can pause. Like, I was like, I just need to find my mitts. So I'm like, all right, I got to make sure my hands are warmed up. I got to make sure I'm warm, because if my hands are frozen, then I can't hover at all. So I was seriously like the whole time just kind of like trying to make sure my hands were warmed up, and like every time I had a moment, I was like kind of gripping a bit, like, and you know, trying to make sure that my hands just didn't freeze. So yeah, that was about it. I approached it just like I knew I had to do it, and I just wanted to do it. So that was about it.
Yeah, it was awesome to watch. So great job doing that. We saw a little glimpse of what was coming with I believe you were in just Skull Woods, hovering over just the gap to get to the big chest. We're like, all right, Tabby's ready to hover today.
Well, that's where I did. What I do is in a seed where I see swamp is a crystal, or pendant rather, a pendant. I will like, okay, let me see, where is my hovering at the moment? How much warm up do I need to have on there? You know, that kind of thing. So. So I was like, I'm gonna go do. I always do Skull Woods in Swordless as a hover if I have the key late like that, because it's like it's an easy hover for me to make sure that I'm warmed up.
So with Mitts being the go mode item, after you cleared Pod and Eastern, you kind of head towards. You did some other checks like Pyramid and Catfish. What was your decision making between maybe were you thinking about Swamp at all, or were you just thinking going to the mountain?
I was not thinking about Swamp. I saw the lamp, and as soon as I saw the lamp, and I had everything else kind of things clicked around in my head, and I was like, okay, the cape wasn't for Aga, the cape wasn't for Bumper Ledge. Lamp is the other way to get up the mountain. Lamp will unlock Old Man. I'm gonna go for Old Man first, and then he's gonna be, the next step was Spike Cave, because I'm not gonna leave mountain before I get Spike Cave.
Great, and that turned out to be exactly the right choice that needed to be made. So, congrats there. Real quick, I know we're seeing you 10 minutes in the past here. Did you happen to hit the button to move forward to the
I did.
Anyway, we're all wondering, what's going on? But 10 minutes is a long time. So.
I don't know when I hit the button, but I can see the collection thing on my screen right now. So.
Yeah, one of the things for everybody watching is, and we appreciate you talking about how you're on the other side of the house from everybody else. But everybody's cool here. But how are you feeling about just how fast the seed was going?
I was a little bit uncomfortable at one point because I said I didn't know if Nick could hover or not. So I was like, if Nick can hover, then if he went to Spike Cave before I did, then I've lost. I plain out lost.
Actually, not to interrupt you, but Nick just finished his hover. He did hover Moldorm just now.
Nice.
I think that's part of why he wanted to finish this out, because I know he's been working hard on that, and I think he wanted it on tape somewhere that he could hover. So, sorry, up to there. Go ahead.
I've been there. I've never been able to actually do a hover. I would say on Restream before. I kind of I think I've done a couple like in Hookshot Cave, but like not where it really mattered,
Sure, but like we saw here, you've got really good examples of almost perfect hovering here to show off there. But Nick as well with what he just did on Moldorm, so very good. What are your thoughts going into the finals next week against the Great Name Pending? What any preparation you guys are going to do for that, or anything differently?
I think we're just going to kind of go in with what we're used to, like what we do. We kind of just talk about stuff ahead of time, like who we're going to be up against, all that kind of stuff, and then we just kind of will wherever the chips fall at that point. I mean, we definitely are. We were happy to get into the Invitational, so getting into the finals is I can't describe right now.
Very exciting. Yeah, we mentioned a few times during the race, everybody's essentially a winner by just being in this match, being able to, both teams, Amish Paradise and Farm Friends, as well as the other two teams, all moving on to the Invitational next year, which is a win in itself. You guys have been working hard for a couple of years now, so congratulations on doing that. How do you feel about being in the Invitational?
I'm excited, to be honest with you, because I really, I would say that I've worked really hard on it. They've worked really hard on it. We've all played for quite some time to get to where we could actually, make it there, and had a lot of, a lot of lumps along the way, but, finally pulling it out is a huge win for, I think, all of us. We're happy to be there.
Oh, is Zero Takes a Death, but I do believe he still has the ferry. Yep.
Yeah, he got that ferry out of the waterfall. So.
Oh, so that's what she dropped. Okay.
Yeah, after getting that extra bottle there, he decided to still check it.
Yeah, I was trying to flute and let my ferry go, so I just kind of was like, okay, bye.
Were you feeling any pressure or concern about dying on Ganon? I know you had a low health total there for a second. Was anything going on there?
Not really, to be honest with you. I really wasn't concerned with it. I practiced Ganon a lot. Like I had my own, I like a different file that I have practiced Ganon, Swordless Ganon, a lot. So like that one wasn't my best Ganon, but I was really happy with it one way or the other because he went down. That's really all I care about is the big guys.
So we see Nick moving to phase 3 here. Jesse, any questions?
Oh no!
Oh, Nick takes
getting
the ball.
fire batted.
Ow. I feel that. I very much feel that.
Yeah, we did notice that late. We were like, oh, this is that fire bat almost getting you as well, so.
Yeah.
I mean, despite all this, it's only like almost 1:30. Like, it's still a 90-minute swordless seed, which is incredible how fast this seed was.
I usually don't roll good seeds, but I guess where it counts, I roll good seeds.
Tabby, one thing we noticed with your routing is you take an interesting approach to the beginning of your route. Can you talk about kind of your thought process with, you usually skip Kakariko often, or, like you did today?
So I don't do a cac skip as much as people want to believe I do a cac skip. I do a cac delay, so I have specific criteria that I use personally to determine when I go to Kakariko. I do, if I have a glove, a flute, a hammer, moon pearl, any king, like any of those. I try to have a flute or a bottle before I go to CAC, if at all possible, but specifically I try to make sure I have some semblance of Dark World access, so if I get the rest of it in Kakariko, I can just go into Dark World and I don't have to come back.
Interesting. So you basically have like a list in your head of, okay, here's the situations, and
yeah,
interesting.
I just kind of, I prefer the CAC delay after doing so many spoiler seeds where, CAC is just something that you do for one item in Blind's Hut or on the bottle vendor or something like that. And I'm like, in so many seeds I've had where, it's not it's not like Stackariko. It's like, it's not Lacarico either. It's just kind of in between. So I just kind of, after so many spoiler seeds of that, I kind of amended my actual routing to in open seeds to the same kind of thing.
So you're almost taking like a data standpoint from it, like how many times you've actually seen it.
I will say I'm kind of a science major. Like I have a bachelor's in science, and I also have my entire thesis is essentially a quantitative study where I am taking data points. So yeah, I do a lot of data gathering in my head even when it comes to this.
Meanwhile, Nick has taken down a Ganon and is just going to cross that bridge real quick, and does finish with a 1:31:38 to win this race. So get your GGs in chat for Zero Nix. We'll see if he joins us momentarily as well.
Oh, that's really cool, Tabby. Thanks for sharing that mindset with us. I can appreciate that.
Also, sorry, my alerts were on for the first like 10 minutes, and then I realized they were on, and so I turned them off like immediately.
I think we only got like 1 or 2 follows in there.
Did not realize it until it was too late. I was like, oh crap.
And speaking of all the follows, make sure you are following both Zero Nix and Tabby Cat. Great runners, I imagine. Obviously, you guys are playing an Invitational next year, so y'all might as well follow them now, as well as the rest of their teammates, so that you can watch the Invitational action that they're involved in next year. So, plus, I imagine y'all are going to be practicing a lot, doing some other Brando in the meantime, so probably a lot to see.
Specific for summertime, yeah. After I get my thesis done, I already made a promise to a certain Windfox that I would practice entrance with him.
As we are now joined by Zero Nix. GG.
Oh, GG. Sorry for extending it there. I saw Tabby finish at the end, and I was like, it's my last one. I might as well finish this out, and guess I got him.
You wanted to get the hover on the camera, I know.
Well, no, that I needed to. That kind of, I wasn't thinking about it. I heard the end of Tabby's interview that she was kind of prepared for it, but I was just like, I really don't want to. I know Tabby's a lot better at it than I am, so maybe I'll find it along the way. So it was kind of like, well, I guess we got to do this.
Yeah, it was a close race when you guys watch it back. You were pretty much all doing the same stuff. The big distinct difference was really that Tabby went up to the mountain to where to find the mitts right away, and Zero, you went to the Swamp Palace, which is what a lot of us in chat were hoping Swamp Palace mattered today. But that was it right there, the big change. In addition to other things. So Zero, tell us how you were feeling about how fast the seed was going.
Not great at first. I felt like things were kind of taking a while to get my way. And then it kind of just blew wide open. I felt like I had 3 or 4 dungeons to clear out. I think I had 4 or 5 at the hour mark. And then it was just that mitts hunt. And finding flippers in Skullwoods. I know a lot of people like to delay on that. So I was like, well, I feel like any advantage I have, I gotta follow these flipper checks. And unfortunately, that took me to Swamp instead of Spike Cave.
Yeah. There was the one thing you both did too, which you both left the top chest in Dark Maze in Pod. Tabby ended up going back in for it after killing Helmasaur, but you went on. That was an interesting thing. I don't know, did that bug you at all? Were you thinking about that chest?
A little bit. Mainly there at the end when I kind of had just those last couple one-off checks there, but I figured that was kind of not a win condition at that point. I was more so worried about Old Man once I found that lamp. Like that has been there for a while, whether it was in logic or not. So that felt a little bit better finding that as a single rupee, I think it was.
Yeah. That's the same thing with me. That's the whole reason when I went back up there, I was like, oh no, Old Man has lost me races before because I decided not to do that. I had gotten something early or something like that and just didn't want to go to it. And there it was.
And that pod darkroom is difficult without things that are showing you where you are. I guess I could have used Samaria in hindsight, but unfortunately that's hindsight.
That's exactly what my thought as well. It's like I should have just used Samaria both times I went in there.
Yeah, Nick, we saw you use about 5 different items in there, including some echolocation with the flute, which was fun for us to watch. So.
Called frantic quick swapping and just trying to figure out what I have.
Nick, we're friends, so I can ask you this question. So you had the issue. That's a good setup, right? So when you had the problem with Para, right, where you got stuck in the pegs, and then with a little bit of the issue with Pod there, I know a lot of us would feel a little tilted, a lot of issue. How do you get over that? Like I know we saw that you kind of just pushed through it anyway. You guys are all good at that, being this high level players. How do you get past that? What do you do to kind of get refocused?
That one, I felt like it was kind of just unfortunate luck versus my stupidity, which is not usually the case. I think that tile hit me and just knocked me into that diagonal. So I was like, well, I have a fairy. I'm not going to ride this out. I'm just going to mirror out and deal with it later. And fortunately, I was up there shortly after.
And then what about with the the potential of a hover suit? I know we've talked a lot about how you look for that. You're prepared to hover. You clearly did it. Both you and Tabby had good hovers. Were you just kind of hoping to find a hook shot too, or were you feeling good about heading toward that end?
Not great. I mean, this is the first time I actually had to do a hover for a race. So I mean, I got it, but yeah, I'm in this case. Knowing how fast the seed was, I felt in decent shape. So I was like, well, if it just falls into my lap, great. If not, then we'll deal with that at the end. Yeah.
But great race from both runners. Somebody has to win, somebody has to lose. But the positive side of this is Nick and Amish Paradise, Dapper Warm Man, and your other teammate, Danny Music. You're all going to the Invitational next year. So it's a big win for all 4 teams that here in the semifinals. How do you feel about going to the Invitational next year?
It's awesome. I think we all agreed that getting into this point was a big kind of weight off our chest, and not that this whole league wasn't for fun already. It just kind of was like, well, whatever happens here, I feel like we all kind of won in some aspect. So just for funsies race, this matchup against people we've match up against a lot, so it's always fun to play against friends, and that's how it is.
Yeah, I'm gonna kind of tag on that. That's kind of how we felt as well. We're like, you know what, this is people that we like to race against. These are people that we are friends with. These are people we've talked to about other things that are not linked fast related. Like I know Zero and I, like when we raced at one point, like talked about dogs and cats and all this other stuff. Like it's things people we have talked to about other things too, and it just was a fun race rather than a stressful. Oh my goodness, if I lose this race and I lose the entire thing, you know.
100%.
Awesome. That's ultimately what we're here for, right? Is to have fun. The league is something that's meant to be for fun for everybody. Get to see a lot of cool stuff, work with each other, right? So it sounds like you all had fun. Congrats again to Tabby Cat and for Farm Friends for moving on, and of course, congrats to Nix and Amish Paradise for being able to make it this far and get into the Invitational League next year.
Yeah, GG's. Go win it now.
We will definitely do our best.
Jesse, anything else? Or Tabby or Zero, anything else from you guys?
That's all for me.
Yeah, thanks for commentating, Jesse and Jaws, and Warfig on tracking. Appreciate you guys.
Absolutely. Thank you guys for doing that to make sure that we had a restream for this one.
Yeah, and anybody out there who's interested, if you maybe played this game a little bit or you want to get more involved, like this community is always open to more commentators. Once you get to know how the game works, always need trackers, always need restreamers. So definitely come hang out with us in the Discord. We're always happy to help learn to play, learn to do the administrative stuff. It's a pretty big open family community. So if there's not anything else, we'll wrap this up. Again, we got the finals coming up next week, basically after today. This week coming up, the finals for both Open and Invitational. So stick around on SpeedGaming and ALTTPR League channels. You're going to see Farm Friends versus the great name pending for the Open Finals. And again, all these teams in this. Oh, go ahead.
On that front, we do have a game scheduled for the Invitational Finals already.
Ooh, breaking news.
Yes, Tuesday, January 24th at 5:10 p.m. Eastern. Perfect unadulterated gaming squad, or the Pugs, and OK Dudes game. The first game of that series, Arier versus Telethar, 5:10 Eastern time once again, and that is Pseudo Boots Cross Keys. That is going to kick off our Invitational Finals this week. So one race starting there. Do expect to see the kickoff of the Open Finals soon as well. So keep your eyes open for those races as they appear on the schedule.
Awesome, and thanks so much, Jesse, for co-commentating. And Nick, Jesse, and me, the OG Amish Paradise, happy to be here reunited one more time. But appreciate everybody here, and of course our Warfig, our tracker, and a restreamer. Jesse, anything else you want to take us out?
Sure. I mean, have a great rest of your Sunday, everybody. Stick around. I know there's plenty of more speed gaming content. I believe the Link to the Past Open Weekly is coming up only within the next hour. So if you want to see some more Link to the Past randomizer action outside of the league, we do have the Open Weekly. That's going to be over on Speed Gaming 3 at 5:30. And if you're at all interested in getting into the scene, the Open Weekly is a great spot for players of all skill levels. So yeah, definitely. And we'll see you all later. Have a great night, everybody.
Thanks, everyone.